Welcome to the Girls Marketing Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things marketing and the perfect backing track to your workday. Every week, we get up close and personal with marketers revolutionising the industry so you can learn from the best in the game. From the latest marketing trends to building a successful marketing career, no topic is off limits. At Girls in Marketing, we champion progress, inspire change, and encourage women to take the marketing world by storm. Check out our website and membership to learn more and get involved, as we'd love to welcome you to our inner circle. Right, let's dive into another episode together. Hello and welcome back to the Girls in Marketing podcast. Today we're going to be talking all about career switching into marketing. 23.3% of people who actually work in marketing have a degree, so that kind of proves that today's episode is very much worth talking about. So I feel like it's a good place to start by asking all of us what our degrees are in, and let's see if we fit into the statistic.
Yeah.
So who wants to go first?
I'll go. Mine was in film studies. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Not marketing.
No.
Mine was psychology.
Yeah, not marketing. I wasn't a marketing degree person either. I did a degree in modern foreign languages.
Yep, and I did mine in digital marketing. So mine is in marketing. And I don't even know, I feel like that's purely because I got into like business studies when I was like in GCSE and stuff, and then I discovered what marketing was through that. And I do feel like, not to be offensive to you guys, but I am younger than you guys, and I feel like marketing has been an industry that's more discoverable now, especially with like YouTubers and like the amount of children that say, oh, I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to be blah 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 when I grow up. Like I feel like that's kind of pushed marketing out there. So yeah, I did digital marketing.
Well, we kind of fit into the statistic then, because there's four of us, 23.3, we're like 25%. So I feel like that's quite a good statistic. That was by Marketing Week in 2023.
Yeah. So it sounds about right.
Yeah. So it's so interesting because I think I speak to so many people in our community that ultimately are career changers. They're people who either they have a degree and they get to the end of the degree and they're like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, which happens quite a lot. Or they're people who have kind of had a bit of a career and then they're like, I want to change over. So whether it's kind of like HR or whether it's kind of like working front of house or retail or all of those things, people kind of find out about marketing as a like discipline and want to move into it. So I think it'd be good to kind of talk about like our experiences with finding out about marketing. So Amy, your degree was in modern foreign languages. How did you kind of like find marketing?
Yeah, so similarly to Kira, I did business studies, economics in school, all that sort of stuff. And within that, I did do quite a lot of elements of marketing, particularly more of like the understanding customers, customer behaviour, all of that sort of stuff. You do that quite a lot built into those subjects that you study at school. So I don't think I really understood that was marketing. And I think if you'd have asked me back then what is marketing, I'd have probably said, I don't know. I'd have probably quite closely associated it with advertising and said that they were probably one and the same. I think at that point, most people's kind of concept of what marketing was, if you didn't work in marketing, was probably to do with like ads, so TV ads, billboards, that sort of thing. You'd think that was kind of what marketing is, where as we know, it's much, much broader than that. So yeah, I went to uni, I did languages, and I finished uni and I was thinking about going into teaching. Not actually teaching languages, I was thinking about possibly going into primary school teaching, and applied for PGCE, was accepted, and then actually just decided it wasn't what I wanted to do. So then I was sort of like, okay, what do I want to do? And then I just kind of took a step back and reflected on things and kind of really did fall into it, which I think is the case for a lot of people in our industry that we speak to. They kind of get into a role that has some elements of marketing and then it kind of grows from there, and then they really enjoy it and then they take more responsibilities and it just sort of grows and they get really involved. So that was kind of how it worked for me. And I think that one reason why I think that marketing is often a career that people will change into from another career is that it is so broad. And I think there's so many opportunities to work in so many different kind of situations. You can work in-house for a brand. You could work for an agency if you would prefer that kind of pace, or working with different brands. You can work for yourself in marketing. It's fairly easy to work freelance, self-employed. There's usually quite a lot of flexibility, especially since COVID. A lot of organisations kind of allow for, hybrid working and stuff like that. It is quite a job that you can sort of do on the go. It's not necessarily, like you said before, Liv, like retail, front of house, teaching, where a lot of them are kind of like the location bound. You've got to be in, Monday to Friday. It offers a bit more flexibility a lot of the time. So I do think that's why we do see a lot of people career changing into marketing, because once they realise what it is and what it encompasses and how many different areas there are, there's a lot of space for people to find things that are a fit with them and the skills that they've got. So that was kind of, my kind of experience of discovering it. And I'm so glad that I did.
Do you have that burning desire to create a website for a new idea but don't have any coding experience? Don't worry, I've got you. Hostinger is a sponsor of today's episode, and they have created an AI website builder tool allowing anyone who wants to take their idea online to do so with zero coding skills. Just write 3 sentences to sum up what you're looking for, and Hostinger does the rest. The AI even offers personalised suggestions on layout, design, and content. Bring your new idea to life by heading to hostinger.com/girlsinmarketing and use the exclusive code girlsinmarketing for 10% off your plan. What's stopping you? I think it's interesting because, Kira, you mentioned before, people finding like social media and YouTube and all of that sort of thing, it is so accessible as an industry. And the fact that, you can go from having a completely different career, maybe having a blog or a social page, like we always kind of tell people to do, to getting into the industry, it's so different to anything else. Like you couldn't do that with like law or with like medicine. You have to have years and years of training or qualifications, whereas with marketing, you don't really have to have that. I think as well, what's also interesting is what you said, where there's so many different types of marketing that you can actually do. I was in a call with some members the other day, and there's basically a member, and she said, I work B2B in B2B marketing, and I've worked there for 6 years, same company, and I just feel bored. She was like, I don't know what to do. So I think I want to change. So this is someone in marketing wanting to change the type of marketing that they're doing, which is another like cool aspect. She said, so I'm working B2B and I just don't really love it anymore. I don't really know how I feel, but I think I want to change to B2C. So then I was like, okay, well, you've got 6 years of B2B experience. That's amazing. Like that is a good amount of experience. I said, what is making you want to change to B2C? And she kind of talked about like the toxic culture of her workplace and how she wasn't really loving like what she was marketing and all of this. And I kind of sat there and I said to her, well, not all B2B is the same. And also like there's more than just B2B or B2C. Yeah. You've got like government institutions, you've got like public sector, like there's
charity sector,
so many different ones. So I think even if you're in marketing and you're thinking, I want to change up what I'm currently doing, there's so many other things that you can do. It's not a case of, oh, I now work in B2C and I want to work in B2B. So she kind of went away from that conversation. She was like, I just thought, oh, I'm in-house. I can do B2B or B2C. And then someone else came in on that conversation and says, well, I work agency side and I do B2B and B2C because I market the agency, but then I also market to other businesses and to like I do some of the stuff that we do in the agency. So I think it's so interesting and it's so accessible as an industry. Like I found my love for marketing through having a blog since I was literally like 14. I didn't even know like you could get paid to write blogs. And again, I think this is because it wasn't like all on social media and that sort of thing. My mum had a blog years and years ago, and she kind of said to me, "Oh, I've had this blog."
I didn't know that. What was your mum's blog about?
It was all like about her life. It's still live, I think now. Actually, I'm not going to tell her she on publicly. But
I love that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so she kind of blogged all about like
so
family life, and I know literally. I can't remember what it was, but it was one of these like blog. Kind of like Blogger or like Blogspot or something like that. So when I got a blog, I started it. She was like, I used to have a blog. And then I went back and like read all of it, all posts now, but I don't know if it's live anymore. But
amazing.
I think that at the time, I think when my mum was doing it, you definitely couldn't get paid for it. But now it's like, it's such an accessible industry. You just start something, you get into it, you love it. And then you can kind of start making money from it, whether it's through being self-employed or whether it's getting a role in marketing.
When what you were saying then, Amy, about getting into marketing, I remember when I was in school and I had this whole thing, like there's always this whole thing about what do you want to do when you're older? And so my older sister was always, I want to be a teacher. That's what I'm doing. That's what I will do. Now, I'm 2 years younger. You asked me and it was different every day. One day it was a singer, one day it was a dancer, one day it was a farmer, one day it was a nurse. Like it was literally anything. Just what I fancied at the time. Can you? It's a little well.
Actually, no, possibly not. No.
No, not with these nails anyway. But yeah, no. So I literally every day it would change. And it was like a joke within my family, like, what does Kira want to be today? Blah, blah. So, and then I remember in year 9, when you come to do your options for GCSE, like you know what you would want to do anyway. And I remember like really deep in it, and I literally made a separate appointment with like a career advisor. And I was like, I just don't think I can decide what I want to do for the rest of my life. This woman's thinking, this girl is having a breakdown right now. And she was like, you do realise if you go into something, you don't have to stick at it for the rest of your life. She was like, the job industry, obviously this was like back in like 2016 or something. She was like, the job industry is like changing all the time. Like, people don't go into jobs and stick there for like 50 years, 60 years anymore. So she was like, you can like chill out and you can change career if you decide you don't want to. And then that was when I realised like, okay, so if I pick something, I can change. Like it doesn't have to be this for the rest of my life or whatever. So I think getting into the job industry, that's what I was like, oh God, like I don't know what to pick because I'm going to be stuck there.
Yeah.
And I think it's realising that like, especially in marketing, you can change. And yeah, whether it is a niche within marketing you're changing or whether it's getting into marketing, I think, yeah, it's a lot more accessible. And I remember when I was doing my A-levels, I was studying business and I was studying psychology. And for me, it was like, do I want to go to uni to study business or do I want to go and study psychology? And I remember having this like chat with my psychology teacher at the time, and she was like, have you ever thought about marketing? I was like, well, yeah, I know what marketing is, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, that's like kind of the perfect mix of them both. And I'd never thought of it like that. And then I was like, yeah, okay, I'm sat on that. And I feel like from that moment, I've been like, yeah, marketing.
But then it can change so quickly. So obviously I did do a degree in film studies, but I actually always thought I was going to do an English degree and I wanted to be a publisher, and that didn't work out. And then I kind of dropped my confidence, knocked that a bit, chose to go back to uni anyway, did film studies, and a very similar trajectory to Amy's, I'd say. I finished uni, was set to go and do a journalism master's, and just suddenly I was like, no, this is not fitting with me. I need to do something else. And mine was the classic case of, what can you do with a film studies degree? And marketing kept coming up. And I actually first in my apprenticeship role was a one-person marketer, but I'd say it primarily focused on social. So I then kind of thought I was going into social, and I kind of ignored the fact that I'd always loved writing, I'd always loved English. I also had a blog. So I think it's also with marketing, you've got so many transferable skills. There's so much in whether you work in HR, whether you're a teacher, anything, and you want to move into marketing, there's so many like skills that you can transfer over that'll be so useful, and you'll have a different perspective as well if you've come from a different career. So I just think it is just so, it is a really good industry to get into.
Yeah, I think like Kira said as well, like, you know, maybe years gone by, it was a case of you get into a job and you want to find a job for life and it's about security, and that's like the main thing and the only thing, or, you know, for a lot of people. And I think obviously that comes into it, and obviously, you know, people still do want security and they often want to build a career and things. But I think that employers are becoming a lot more understanding now of the fact that people do want to change and experience different things. And I don't think it's necessarily always looked at as a bad thing now. I think that previously, if you'd have applied somewhere with a CV of like various different roles that you'd been in, employers think, oh, there's a reason for this. I'm not going to take a risk, you know, take a chance on them because, you know, there's a reason they're constantly moving jobs. But actually, if, you know, flip it the other way, it's that person's gaining experience, discovering what they want to do, you know, building up their skill set in different roles or different organisations. And one thing that we've said about transferring between kind of roles within marketing, like, you know, someone might work in email, and then, because I remember that we had a member who actually worked in email and wanted to get into working in social, but just didn't really know how to make that transition, because ever since starting in marketing, like some people will start in quite a generalist role and others will get into a specific role. She sort of was like, I've done everything I feel like I want to do with email marketing. I enjoy it. I really know what I'm doing, but it's not fulfilling me anymore. I want to get into working in social. I think I'd quite like to be in like a creative, like organic social type of role. I don't know how to make that jump when, you know, she sort of said there are people that I'm potentially going to be competing with who are applying, who've got social media experience or have created their own experience and stuff like that. She sort of said, how do I compete with them and how can I make that transition? So might be an interesting one for us to kind of chat about. Any advice for people who might be in that sort of position? Because I know we get a lot of people in our community who are feeling that way.
Yeah. I think it's firstly kind of what Becky was saying before about like the skills that you have. So whether it's you're in a marketing role and you want to change to a different one, or whether you are, you know, in a totally different role, what do you do that is transferable?
Yeah.
So with email, like copywriting is huge. I think if you can nail copywriting as a skill, you will be able to do quite a lot of marketing roles, especially the ones that are copy based, maybe not so much like analytical, but more kind of like social or email or, you know, kind of website stuff, because copy is like so essential. So the fact that, let's say, for example, if you do have email experience but no social experience, you understand brand tone, which is amazing. You understand how to write good copy. I think it's more about, okay, well, how do I go from writing, you know, potentially like chunks of information that maybe you do on email? How do I write that in, you know, in social? And then again, it depends what sort of company you work for, because some companies will only write short emails. So that is easily transferable to the likes of social. So I think it's understanding, okay, what are my key strengths? And what do I enjoy as well? So many people say, oh, you know, I want to go into this industry. And then it's like, okay, well, what do you enjoy? But they don't actually enjoy. If they want to move from email to social because they don't really like the copy side of it, I wouldn't say move to social, because there's a lot of copy involved in social. So I think as well, it's about understanding, okay, what am I kind of doing, like a SWOT analysis on yourself. You know, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities for me? And like, I don't know, what are the threats? You know, I think that sort of thing could be really good for wanting to change in marketing or in general, like changing career.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you're already working in marketing, you've already got like you've got a lot of the fundamentals of like, you know, you may be going from email to social, but you've got a really good understanding, or, you know, you would think that you'd have a really good understanding of like understanding your target audience, understanding demographics, understanding kind of like, you know, customer journeys, that sort of thing. That's all relevant, whatever channel it is that you're kind of working on within marketing. So those things are transferable as well, aren't they? So yeah, I think that's really, really, really useful. And like, it's taking a step back and thinking like, you know, it's not just like the technical email systems that you're using, it's all of the other skills that you've built within that role that can be transferred elsewhere.
Yeah. I think the only thing to kind of note with career changing, especially if you're coming into marketing, is the fact that you may be quite senior where you are right now, but you will potentially go into marketing a lot more junior, even though you do have the transferable skills. Don't get me wrong, I definitely think that they'll help and you'll be able to really utilize them on your CV and through interviews. But ultimately, I think, and this is, I speak to so many people who do want to career change, and it's just the reality is like, okay, well, how much from a salary perspective are you expecting? Because I think sometimes if you are quite senior in maybe, you know, a HR role or like an accountant role, you can actually be earning quite a lot of money to then go to a potentially a more junior or maybe more mid-level kind of marketing role. You're going to see a salary drop. But if that's okay and you're all right with that, then amazing. But I think it's also about understanding, again, the situation that you're in. Can you afford to take that? You know, what are the kind of risks? What's the opportunity? You know, you can also progress in marketing, but how long is that going to take versus, you know, if you've built up a career in a certain industry for, you know, 10 years, if you're then going over to marketing, you know, what is the kind of the alternative, you know what I mean? So I think that's something to consider.
Yeah, I think as well in marketing compared to other industries, it was an episode you did with Ruth actually about job titles and like the fact that in marketing, job titles are so different compared to other industries. So for example, like exec, in marketing, that's kind of that's like the start of your career, whereas in other industries, executive is like the top level. So like you could be applying to an exec role thinking, I'm going to be like managing the department or whatnot. And then you get there and you're like, oh no, this is actually not what I thought it was. So I think when you are career changing into marketing, I think definitely understanding job titles is one thing, but also looking at the criteria of the job, like the roles, the responsibilities, what they share in the job description is essential, because marketing job titles, they're a whole different
There's
level,
not a lot of
especially-
consistency across the industry,
No.
I'd say. I think there are certain ones, like you say, that are quite standard kind of levels, but I think even between one organisation and another and one, area of marketing and another, like they vary so widely that I would always say take the titles with a pinch of salt and do your kind of digging into the job description and what's expected of you. I really agree with that, because I think it can throw a lot of people off when they're wanting to move into the industry, navigating all the titles and what does it all mean.
Being your own boss is all about having freedom, flexibility, and independence, but it can leave you exposed. With Kingsbridge, you don't have to take on all of the business risks yourself. Kingsbridge are a sponsor of today's episode, and their team has years of experience in protecting businesses, and they have a range of packages to fit your needs. No matter what type of business you have, contractor insurance is a safety net for many business owners, and it's important that you get it right. It makes you more trustworthy too. Don't leave yourself exposed. Invest in insurance with Kingsbridge by visiting their website, kingsbridge.co.uk. I think it'd be interesting to talk about kind of what can people do when they're in a role right now to help them kind of get to that point. So let's say, for example, they can't afford to just kind of quit the job and look for a job in marketing. What can people do like right now, today, or start, right now that will help them potentially get a role in marketing in future?
I mean, I think for anyone listening to this, I think they've already made a good start. Like immerse yourself in the industry, listen to podcasts, subscribe to marketing newsletters, Girls in Marketing Social Tainment, sign up. Surround yourself with other people who either are in the industry, want to get into the industry, have knowledge. If you've got friends that already work in marketing, pick their brains, engage with people on social media, on LinkedIn that are in the industry, absorb as much as you can, because even though a lot of it might be sort of, it might not be about brands that are relevant to where you might think of applying, understanding marketing as a whole and as an industry is so valuable. And I think that when you're applying for jobs, it gives you that extra level of confidence that you know what you're talking about, you understand, what other brands are doing, you can take in really great examples and case studies and just show that even if you maybe don't have on paper what somebody else that is also going for the job might have, you've got that enthusiasm, that passion, that understanding. So I think that's always one that really makes people stand out. And then I think where you can, trying to upskill alongside whatever role that you're doing. It's not always that easy if you've got time constraints and stuff. But I think if you've got the time to invest in a bit of professional development, whether, more than likely it's probably going to have to be in your own time. If you're already working in a different industry, it's not likely your employer would fund you doing training in marketing. But if you have the capacity to do some upskilling alongside it, I think that's definitely worthwhile as well.
Well, the Girls in Marketing membership is the perfect
for
anyone.
Yeah.
I think because as well, I say that laughing because it's self-promo, but also genuinely, we have the one-to-ones that are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You can book 20-minute slots with people who will help you. We have people that have career changed, and also people that can just kind of sit with you and go over your CV and say, I actually helped a member recently. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it. So she was primary school teacher. And she was like, we got on a call in a one-to-one. She's been a member for quite a while, but she's not really utilised all of the amazing resources that we have. And we got on a call and she said, okay, so I want a career change. I'm a primary school teacher. And I was like, okay, right. So, and she said, I want to make this salary. I want to get into another, another area of marketing. I want to get into an area of marketing. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of like, okay, well, let's start unpicking, what have you done? What kind of skills do you have? And over the course of this conversation, and it's 20 minutes, so you can get a lot of information from someone in that time. She's had this YouTube channel and this blog for years, and it's not massively consistent, but she loves posting on it. It's more kind of for fun sort of thing. And I was like, why is that not on your CV? I was like, the fact that you have a YouTube channel, you create videos, she edits them, she uploads them, and they're nice when she puts them on. So she was like, yeah, well, I never really thought about that. I never thought, oh, that's my own experience. We talk a lot about creating your own experience. And then she said, okay, so we kind of went over a CV. She booked in another call a month or so later, and we kind of went over a CV again. And then literally a few weeks ago, she started as a sales and marketing assistant for a company. So she was made up. No. And I think that, got goosebumps. But that sort of thing is so nice to see that I think obviously she was kind of, as you say, Amy, going out of her way to upskill in different areas and equally kind of doing her own thing. And I think that's such a good way to get into the industry if you have the time to do so. And, you know, she kind of put that at the top of her CV. She talked about that a lot more. And I think really focusing on those transferable skills, she was able to get a role. And don't get me wrong, it's not a full marketing role. It's sales and marketing, or marketing and sales, one or the other. So obviously the role's not going to be fully marketing. But again, that's another thing that you could do. Maybe look for roles that are hybrid roles, or roles that have, you know, marketing and admin. That's always a really good one. So you're not going to fully be immersed into marketing at the beginning, but that also might be an easier transition for some people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really nice that she's turned almost like a passion project into like creating her own experience. I mean, it's always a good thing, whether it's social media, anything like that, or free programs and courses. I mean, it is a shameless plug, but the digital marketing internship program is back in September. And it's helped so many people. We're not just saying that. It's true. But I think things like that, and there are loads of free marketing courses and programs, whatever you choose. So if anyone's interested.
Yeah. And I think marketing's a lovely industry to change into.
It really
so
is.
we'd recommend it to anyone. And that's a wrap on another team episode. Before you forget, we'd love to make this a two-way conversation. Feel free to share your opinions on this episode with us on social media by tagging Girls in Marketing. If you did enjoy listening to our team chat about marketing, please follow and leave a review of the podcast so we can continue to grow and share more episodes like this one. Your support really does go a long way. We'll be back next week with another amazing episode, but until then, join in the conversation on social media. See you next week.